Mom and Dad, your child almost certainly is going to see pornography. And if your kid's around 11, that's the average age. So the question is, do you have a plan? Do you know what you're going to do? If you don't, this video is going to be a blueprint of what you can do, what you shouldn't do, and how you should say it. We're going to talk about how you set the tone, how you actually talk with your children about what they saw. We're going to talk about what you need to look for as you're having that conversation. We'll go through two brief examples of how it might look when you talk to kids who are young and when you talk to kids who are old. And then I'm going to give you at the very end 3 very simple things that you can do that are going to really diminish your child's ability and desire to watch porn. And brief warning, this is about pornography, and so there's going to be some terms in here that might cause little children to ask questions. It's not explicit. We're not using sexual terms, but just letting you know this is not for kids. So let's start with setting the tone. The first thing you want to remember is that you have to stay calm. And if you're not calm, it's okay to take a couple of days to just make sure that you calm down, because you want to be able to say it in a way that is calm and not inflammatory. Don't want to use any shame, of course. We talk about that quite a bit. And there's probably a lot of parents who are thinking, I can't believe that my kids did this. We know that that's not part of our family values, and they know it. But the truth of the matter is today is very different than it was. Nowadays, it is the same as when I was a kid, as having a Playboy magazine in every single room of the house and knowing that I'm not supposed to look at it. Well, almost all kids are going to fail at that, and I probably would have too. Before you talk to your child, you want to make sure that you're prepared. So the first thing to do is let your child know it's like, hey, we need to have a serious conversation. And we're going to do it tomorrow afternoon, if that's okay with you. Does that work with your schedule? Good. You want to let them know, don't surprise them with this, because it's going to be a very hard conversation for them. And dads, if it's a boy, you probably want to do the talking, and mom, if it's a girl, you probably want to do it. And if you're single parent and you have to talk to your kids the opposite sex, it's going to be okay, right? It's the information that's important. It might be a little bit more uncomfortable, but it's going to be fine. So don't worry about that. Before you talk with your kid, you want to do your homework, because you really want to know what you're looking at. And so you should go through all of the browser history for all of their computers. If they use Chrome and Firefox, you want to go through history on all of them. You also want to do the same thing on their cell phones. Go through the apps, look through what they have, look at their history. Make sure you look through the YouTube history. And if you notice where there are hours where there is no history whatsoever, they're probably using incognito mode and they're trying to cover their tracks. 67% of kids said that they have done something to cover their tracks. And one other thing that you want to do is go up to the search bar where you type in your website addresses, and you want to walk the alphabet. So you type in an A, and it's going to auto-populate things that have already been typed in there. And so you'll see A, you'll see B, D, and as you go through, you'll be able to see what type of search terms have been typed in to the browser. Once it's time to have the conversation, you want to put all of your cards on the table, okay? And what you're going to say basically is, look, I'm really concerned. I found this, and I found this. Now, it's not a I gotcha kind of thing. It's like, I'm concerned because I saw these things. And you don't have to candy coat it because they've already looked at it. And they're going to be very tempted to lie to you, and don't be surprised if they do. If they do lie to you, I don't think I would make a big deal out of that. I know we don't want our kids lying, and I know you and I don't. I will discipline my kids for lying, but this is not the time, I don't think, to do that, because we're looking at a different problem, and we're looking at your kids looking at pornography. And so then it would be really good to transition with something like this, like, hey, the reason I wanted to talk to you about this is because I'm very concerned. And this would be a time for you to be transparent. If you have struggled with this in the past, this is your time to let them know. It's like, hey, everybody has struggled with this, okay? And so you're not unique, because they're going to be afraid that there's something wrong with them or that there's some type of crazy monster, and we don't want that. And then finally, you want to say something like this, and hopefully this is going to open their heart, because this is when you're going to get transparent. And if you've struggled with this in the past or had similar struggles, this is when you would share that. Say, look, you're not unique. I have struggled with this too. You're not weird, and there's not something wrong with you. And I would also say something along these lines. I also kind of want to tell you I'm sorry, because I think maybe if I had done a better job talking about this or sharing with you how it was difficult for me, maybe we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. And then finally, if they are still not talking and they're still trying to cover it up, and of course, that they are actually lying, what I would do is I say, hey, look, I understand this is very embarrassing, and we're going to pick this up tomorrow, okay? And then I'd have them do something that shows that they're included in the family. Like, hey, would you come help me peel these carrots? So don't ostracize them. Make sure they know they're still part of the family. Investigation. That's what we're doing as we're having the talk, because what we're trying to find out is, what have they seen? How bad is it? What are the potential implications? And is it curiosity, or has it now become habitual? That's what we're trying to do. And so I'm going to walk through a series of questions. I'm going to put those up on the screen. The first thing I'd say is, so where have you seen this? Where did you see it? Are your friends, are they talking about it, or are they showing it to you? Did you see it through them? Was there something that you were curious about or worried, like maybe you're afraid there's something wrong with you and you just wanted to find out? The stuff that you saw, did they have their clothes off? And if they did, was it all of their clothes off or just some of it? Was there more than one person in it? Was it just one person or two? Was it pictures or was it videos? And were they doing things that were sexual, like sexual things? Did you see anybody that was being mistreated? Now, you cannot freak out. Whatever they say that they saw, you cannot freak out. You may freak out on the inside, go ahead, but you can't do it outside. So you're just going to have to fake it till you make it. And this is where you would speak very frankly with them. And you would say something along the lines of, look, I have seen the stuff that you have seen, or I've seen stuff similar to that. And the emotions that come with that, it's very, very powerful. It's also physically powerful. And it's kind of disturbing at the same time. And I wouldn't be surprised if when you saw it, you were both shocked, repulsed, and at the same time drawn to it. And your mind was just swirling. I understand that was like, and that's exactly how pornography is supposed to work. It's supposed to hook you. And at the same time, you know that it's wrong, but you still just want to see some more of it. And I want you to know, I'm not ashamed of you, and I don't like you any less. So is there anything that you have questions now that you've seen this, or is there anything else that you want to know about, like about how men and women are? And nothing is off the table. Another thing you might say is, hey, I'm really proud of you for talking about this, because a lot of kids would get super embarrassed and they wouldn't. And thank you so much for being open, because I really do want to help you. And I know that it's difficult because I've experienced it in some ways too. And one of the things I'd say to the end is, so how often do you feel like you're doing this? Is it like once a week? And they may say it's only been twice, but they might say it's twice a day. Okay, if that's the case, you have a different type of problem. And then finally, you have to ask them if they're actually acting out to it, because you want to find out what the nature of the problem is. And I would phrase it something like this. So as you're looking at these pictures, like, do you wind up, are you touching yourself? And to where, like, your body responds to that? And then if they were acting out to it or they're not acting out to it, this would be a good time to talk to them about dopamine and adrenaline and things like that. And there's lots of videos, so I'm not going to get into this because this video is already going to be fairly long. Now, there's two questions, one that everybody's going to ask and then one that everybody should ask. The one that everybody's going to ask is, should I discipline my kid? Well, in this case, probably not. You just found out about it. It's new. What you want to do is keep the lines of communication open, because you're trying to figure out what's really going on, how deep it is. And if you punish them, it's just going to make them want to recluse or just clam up. So I wouldn't at this point. Later on, if you set family rules and they break them, then you handle those however you see fit. The question that a lot of parents don't ask but should is, am I comfortable dealing with this? Because it can be pretty serious. If your child is looking at this multiple times a day, if they're hiding their tracks, if it's getting longer, the times that they're looking at it, well, now you've got yourself probably something that's close to an addiction or a full-blown addiction. When you're talking about a sexual addiction, a lot of churches have absolutely nothing at all. They don't have anything to help people with addiction. Other ones will have programs, and some of these are nationally known, and they're good. I'm saying that they're good, and you already know about those. I'm not going to talk about them. But there's another option. There is something called a Certified Sexual Addiction Therapist. That's called a CSAT. And that would be a private counseling where you'd have your kid talk to this counselor, the CSAT. And the CSAT is, of course, fully licensed. They have to have, at a minimum, 5 years of clinical experience. They need to have a master's at the minimum. And then they go through an extensive set of training on the peculiarities and the subtleties of finding out what's driving the sexual addiction, not just treating the symptoms. They're going to try and get to the roots, and that's their specialty. And so that would be an option for you. And if you can, there's Christian CSATs, and that's who I would go for if other things don't work. So let's just do 2 quick run-throughs of what it would look like talking about this, because for little kids and older kids, it's quite a bit different. With little kids, it would just be something along this line. You know what? The body is an amazing thing, and God did a great job, and He made it super, super awesome, and it's very, very pretty. Now, you're a little boy, and as you get older, and maybe it's already started happening with you, but you started to notice girls in a different way, and you're starting to see that they're pretty. And you'll notice that some girls, they'll show some skin, and it looks good because they're pretty. That's the way God made them. But some boys can get skin crazy, and all they want to see is just more and more and more skin. And it's a pretty bad thing because it winds up taking them places that are really bad, that you don't need to know about right now, but it's a really sad place to be, and I don't think you want to go there. Nakedness is private, so you should not see naked people. Naked people shouldn't be on screens, and they shouldn't be in magazines. It's not a right thing to do. And so nakedness is just private, and it's between mommies and daddies, and maybe when you're taking a bath or something like that, like your little brother. That's an okay kind of nakedness. But I would imagine you might be kind of curious. Do you have any questions for me about what boys and girls' bodies are like? And do you have any questions? Because if you do, you can ask me. But going to a screen to try and get those, that's not going to get you good answers because most of that stuff is wrong. Talking to teens has to be completely different than that. It has to be real enough and authentic enough that it's credible. Because if you use little kid language because you're uncomfortable using that language, you're not going to have any credibility. So the way I spoke with my kids about it was basically something along like this. I understand what happens when you see those pictures, and what happens is you get sexually aroused and all types of chemicals go into your body, and it feels really good. So you feel energized, and it's a very exciting feeling. That is actually, though, a gift. Now, it's not a gift you're supposed to open right now, but it is a gift. And there's a whole book in the Bible about how awesome it is, those sexual feelings, and how men are attracted to women and how women are attracted to men. It's called Song of Songs. And if it's in the Bible, you know it's good. But the problem is, right now, for you as a teenager, it's dangerous. It's especially dangerous because your body is flush with hormones. And sexual temptation for you, and probably for the next 10 years, is going to be the strongest it's ever going to be in your life. And I want you to know, it doesn't end in 10 years. When you're 60 and 70, you're still going to have sexual temptation. That is just how it works. You're always going to have that. And we have to learn how to control that. And it's only for marriage. And this is why. Because that type of sexual excitement is like driving a Ferrari. You're going 212 miles an hour, and then you find out that the only brakes you have are like those little hand brakes that you had on your first tricycle. That's not a safe thing, is it? Now, when you get married, you don't have to worry about the brakes because you can drive the Ferrari as much as you want to. But when you're young, you get that car revved up, and then you can't stop it, and you wind up doing things that you regret, and people get hurt. So here's the part I promised at the beginning. Here's a couple of very, very simple things that are going to help you a lot. The first thing is you should start talking when they're young. If you didn't start talking about this till you're 16, you got a lot of catching up to do. But you want to make it a normal part of the family discussion because sexuality is a normal part of being a human being, right? And the church does not do a good job about it, and a lot of Christian parents don't. But we need to make it normal because it is normal. So start young. And a lot of parents are going to be afraid that I'm going to like elicit something or going to make some sort of curiosity. That may happen. But the dangers of not saying anything must be 100 times worse than maybe getting them curious about something a little bit earlier than they would have already. So silence is not the answer. One of the things that I would share with them, and it's going to be very motivating, is you'll tell them and say, hey, I want you to know I am going to be inspecting all of your screens from now on. And so I'm going to look at every browser. You're not going to have any screens that I won't look at. I'm going to go through your phone. I'm going to look at your text messages, basically everything. And so it's not because I don't trust you, but it's because knowing that I'm going to look at it is going to help you stay away from something that I think you already want to stay away with. And it's my job to help try and keep you safe, and I'm going to do that. Now, one amazing piece of technology, and I'm not sponsored by these people, is Covenant Eyes. We have Covenant Eyes on every single device in our family, and my kids are college age, and I have it on mine because I have accountability. What it does is it takes pictures all the time, and then if it sees something that's suspicious, it just flags it. And if it sees something that's really suspicious, it sends you an email. And the thing is, you can't get around it because if you turn it off, you get an email. And if your kid goes into incognito mode, it's going to take pictures and it can't show you what they're looking at, but it's going to show you that they were incognito mode for 40 minutes. And if they try and use a virtual private network, it's going to go through and it's still going to take pictures no matter where they go. So even if it's not logged, you're still going to get pictures of it. So Covenant Eyes is great. And then just finally, there's a couple of very, very simple things that are going to head off a lot of temptation for your kids. One is no screens in private areas. So your kids should not have a phone in their bathroom, right? They don't need one in their bedroom. That is mostly when it happens. If they have a computer in their room, which I don't suggest, I think all the computers should be out in the living room if you can do it. But if it has to be in the bedroom for them to do their homework, you want to make sure that the screen is facing the door and that when they're online, the door is open. Because you don't want privacy while they are browsing. You want to be able to see at any time what's going on, and you want them to know that you can see at any time. And so that's motivating, and it's going to help. And with smartphones, honestly, our kids didn't get a smartphone until they were driving. There are lots of dumb phones out now that are awesome, and they don't have internet access, but they even have GPS, and you can play music on them, and you can talk on the phone, and they will take pictures, but you can't get pictures off of the internet. And then finally, last thing is I would not let my kids use their phone as an alarm clock. Most kids do, almost everyone does. It's a good idea to have a charging basket in some neutral place, like in the kitchen, and at bedtime, everybody's device goes in there. Now, if you follow those rules, talk about it early, it's going to be helpful. Now, mom and dad, you may be overwhelmed and you may be almost feeling hopeless because you know this is an issue and you have found it. Well, I want you to know there's never a time when there's no hope. Okay, God is always working in our children's lives. He's always working in our lives. And there's never a time that we're hopeless this side of heaven. On top of that, if your child has moved into certified addiction, like this is a real problem, we understand the problem. There is a lot of literature. There's a lot of help. And in the extreme cases, or you may just start there, you can start with hopefully a Christian CSAT who knows the physiology, they know the chemistry, they know the biology, they have the theology that goes behind it, and they can help you figure out, get to the roots, because pornography is not the problem. Pornography is just the answer. Your child is using pornography because there's something that's hurting him or her. They feel anxious, they are getting bullied, they don't feel like they're adequate, they have body issue problems or body image problems. But they're using pornography to meet a valid need, but they're getting it met in an invalid way, and it's causing them all types of internal turmoil. And I'll close with one final thought. If your child is into pornography and they don't want to quit, at this time in their lives, you can't stop it. Right? You can't make an alcoholic not want to drink, and you can't make your son or your daughter not want to look. But God has a way of getting people to the place where they want to get rid of it. And if you handle this discussion well, and you've left that conversation open, you'll always be able to pick back where you left off, or to maybe continue that conversation even as they're moving through life and still struggling. But mom and dad, you're not without hope, and there's plenty of hope available. If this was helpful, like and subscribe.